Hello and welcome to Harriet's family. Harriet Priscilla Wright. She was my red-haired grandmother. She was my dad's mum. And in this first page of her scrapbook, you'll see her seated on the right-hand side. Her husband Walter, also seated in the middle, and 5 of her children surrounding her. I'll come to the children in just a moment. But of course, I built the tree for Harriet in Find My Past. And here is a small diagram showing you her heritage. It's a little small to see, but you'll note that I have built her tree back 4 generations and more. So in this scrapbook, I'm sharing with you some of the details of her ancestors, her siblings, her children, and her husband. First up, let's have a look at Alfred Wright. Now, he was born in Essex, and if you look closely at the text that I've put there, you'll see that he played a significant role in the local community. The picture on the left is not of Alfred Wright. I did not have one for him. So this is a space saver. He married Eliza Goetz in Stratford in Essex in 1868. Eliza, she was born in Bishop's Stortford, and she was the daughter of Joshua and Sarah Langdon. They had children, how many children? 8 children together: Isaac, Alfred, Benjamin, Herbert, Edward, Ellen, Albert, Arthur, Joshua, and Harriet Priscilla. She lived until the 1930s and, of course, will be remembered fondly by her family. Further back in her ancestry is Benjamin Wright. He was born back in 1803 and he was a brick maker. He did not have a long life, as you can see from my notes. He passed away in 1857, so he would only have been 54 years old when he died. Moving on, we see Lydia Rule. And Lydia became the wife of Benjamin Wright. She was born in 1802 and passed away in 1866, so only lived till the age of 64. Moving further back, we have Joshua Goetz, born in 1812, and he was married to Kezia, a very unusual name. And Joshua was also the son of William, who was a malt maker, an unusual occupation. Sarah Langdon was born in 1814, and she also had a role to play for her generations. She passed away in 1879, leaving a legacy of love, compassion, and strength to inspire her descendants. William Wright, we're moving back into the 18th century now. William was born in 1766 and he married Elizabeth Dennis, and they had a son called Benjamin, who I've mentioned already. Elizabeth Dennis was born in Roxwell, Essex, and she married William Wright in 1781 and became a devoted wife and mother. William was born in 1774, William Rule, that is, and he was born in Assington, Suffolk. You can see that his father's name was also William, and throughout my families, William crops up numerous times. Now, William Rule married Mary Bacon in 1795, and Mary Bacon was born in 1774, and she was married to William Rule in Wormingford, Essex. She passed away in 1854, so she was elderly at that time, and so one of the more long-lived ancestors of mine. Further back now, we're going to see William Goats, an unusual name. He was born in 1775 in Bishop Stortford, Hertfordshire, and he passed away in 1832. So you can do the maths there for yourself. But his memory and the values he instilled in his family live on through the generations. His wife, Kezia Patmore, another very unusual name. She was born in Stansted, Montfichet in Essex, a very difficult place name to pronounce. She left a lasting impact on those who knew her and then passed away in 1846. Note that many of these old photographs are not actually of my ancestors, they are placekeepers. Now we're looking at William Langton, Sarah's father. He was born in 1792 in Sawbridgeworth, Hertfordshire. I didn't know much about his life, other than the fact that he was the son of James Langton and Mary Bassell. He married Louisa Fear, and Louisa Fear was born in 1796, also in the same county, in the same town of Sawbridgeworth. When they married, they had several children, and you can see where the names have come down from. She had Sarah, William, Mary, Emma, John, and Eliza. So when we first started looking at this scrapbook, we came in to be introduced to my grandmother, Harriet Priscilla Wright. And you'll see here a little snippet from Find My Past that lists the children that she had with my grandfather, Walter Frederick. I'm not sure that this child actually did exist. There is a little bit of controversy around whether or not Lily, as she would have been known, was in fact born to them prior to their marriage. We do know that there was a son, Walter Frederick Joshua, who was born to Walter and Harriet, and he was born in 1898, but sadly passed away at just age 2 in the year 1900. A very sad situation for his parents. Harriet was then expecting her next child, who was born just a month later. And that child was my dad, Cecil Henry, born on the 25th of April 1900, a good date for us to remember him by because that is Anzac Day. He married my mum, Winifred Edith Cutting, and I am the last of their 7 children. Looking now at my dad's siblings, you will see here that he was the next child to be born to Walter and Harriet. This is Edward Lionel. He was born in 1902 but died tragically in 1930. He was involved in a car accident on a racetrack. A very sad tale attached to Edward Lionel. Their next child, Ivy Dorothy, did not live long. She passed away at a very young age in 1904. So she was not even a year old. So her time on earth was very brief. The next child born was William Francis, known as Bill. He was born in 1905 and lived on into his 90s when he passed away in 2004. He had two sons, Lionel and Trevor. Harriet Priscilla was the next child, named, of course, after her mother's middle name. She was born in 1907, and she later married Derek Wilson in 1932. She certainly was known for her assistance to her widowed mother, because Harriet lost her husband Walter in 1915, and Amy Priscilla stayed on to help her. The last child born to Harriet and Walter is Samuel John Reginald, born in 1909 in Kingston, and he married Jessie Gates in 1936. I didn't know him very well, but briefly I knew of his two sons, Roger and Martin. Samuel John Reginald passed away in 1989. These are the siblings of Harriet Priscilla Wright. So you'll notice that she was born in 1874, so I believe she was maybe the middle child. As Ellen was born 1864, Alfred in 1870, Joshua 1871, Benjamin 1875, Herbert 1877, Albert Arthur 1879, and Isaac in 1880. So once again, you see the derivation of some of the names for her children and her grandchildren. And finally, I believe this is the residence for Walter and Harriet. Not absolutely positive, but I think this was the house they lived in Surbiton. I hope you've enjoyed listening to this story of Harriet and Walter Allery.